Raffi Musiker now commands the USS Excelsior. Elnor is the first fully Romulan cadet at Starfleet Academy, and Guinan calls Saurian Brandy Hooch. Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello, hello.
My name is Ryan T. Husk, and I'm wearing a special jacket today, even though it's a hot day in LA, but I am absolutely sure that I must wear my Picard jacket today, so I'm going to be burning through that. Today we're doing a review of Picard Season 2, Episode 1, entitled Stargazer. This episode is brought to you by our good friend, Tim Baum, a.k.a. Grandpa One. And we also like to give a special thanks to John Segal and Susan Parker today. How are you, Cirroc?
Right. I'm good. I'm doing good. How are you?
Well, like I said, it's kind of hot, but but I'm so excited for this new Picard season and this new Picard episode. I don't know if you could tell, but this thing says Picard on it. The back has a big
oh, yeah, it looks better in the light when you stood up a little bit, because in the darkness it was kind of difficult to see the detail. Mm-hmm. It looks like one of those go out hiking, really comfortable,
pockets,
have a nice
pockets and places you didn't know you had places. So anyway,
great for some early morning Earl Grey tea, right?
Yep, piping cold. As Laris sent him, brought him some cold Earl Grey. Okay, let's just get into it, Cirroc. What did you think of this first episode of Season 2?
Very good start to the season. I think they made it big enough for us to kind of have a lot to contemplate going forward in this second season. I like the introduction of the Borg. I like the building up of this inner conflict of whatever's going inside of Picard's mind. And so we have these kinds of really good starts to the second season. I think they've done a good job for that.
Mm-hmm. By the way, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention this jacket comes from the good people at Hero Within. Their customer service is outstanding. Met them at Star Trek Las Vegas. They're really cool. So we want to give a shout out to them. And nice. Man, I hope they come out with a Sisko jacket, Cirroc. I want you in a Sisko jacket so bad.
If they do, I'll be there.
All right. So I was really impressed with this episode. It's kind of like sometimes you forget. Like I remember liking Picard, but when it picked up, I was like blown away. I was like, wait, was it always this good? And then I kind of tried to remember. I remember it being good, but like, oh, that's what I forgot. I was going to say at the top, my trivioid was going to be, and Picard changes its tune in more ways than one, because the character did, but also the intro was different. It was a little darker, a little heavier, but it was still just gorgeous. I love the music.
Yeah, I did ask myself, the first thing I wrote down was like, oh, new intro. So right away it was like, oh, okay, I got to sit and watch this intro because I don't want to miss anything. And yeah, I did have a darker feel to the intro. Some of the ships that they kind of were showing, and yeah, I just had that feel, set the tone. And then it started to get into it and unravel this story. At first I thought, oh, this is going to be slow. It kind of started a little bit slow, on the vineyard and this conversation he had with, is it Laris?
Yeah.
So they started with that. And then I realized, okay, so they're trying to build this, show the love interest essentially for Picard, right? And a non-love interest, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, but somebody that they have feelings for each other, and this kind of dynamic between him and his commitment to his duty, as he said. which I thought there were some good speeches in there that I thought, as Picard always does, he just goes into these really good kind of speeches about, aphorisms or just positive ways of putting perspective on things. And he's really good at making those kind of statements in certain areas.
Yeah, I feel like Picard as a captain always kind of stood for our conscience, or our moral compass. That his plays were always like morality plays. It was very like what's right and what's wrong. That's really what the Next Generation focused on, and what he as a character focused on. We got to start calling Laris Polaris, because that's like one of the best Megadeth songs ever. The Punishment Due, I think, is the other half of that. Anyway, no, Rest in Peace. Anyway, moving on from that. But her husband, Joban, died. Remember, there were two of them. And I think this probably takes place a year and a half or 2 years later. I don't remember Joban dying in season 1. If he did, please correct me. Everybody that's listening in, or if Cirroc, but she did explain.
I can't remember.
She did explain why they move on quickly, because the first thing the fans are going to say is, "Whoa, dude, slow down! You were just with this guy 1 episode ago. Maybe to you it feels like forever ago, but to us it was jarring." And so she says, with Romulans, the best way to honor a past love is to love even more deeply when they're gone, or something like that. I'm like, yeah, that's convenient. That's convenient, Romulans.
Yeah, that's actually one of the things that I had to get a perspective on when I was watching the episode, was how much time had elapsed since the last time we saw them, right? And I think the young character from the early on, the one that he's trying to save, was like,
Elnor?
No, this is her name, Elnor, the synthetic.
Soji Berry. Yeah.
Soji Berry. Yeah. When Soji's at the table and she's making this kind of she's having this conversation, she says something to the effect of, "It's been 1 year after the Federation ended the ban on synthetics." So my guess was, this is about a year. This is a year after we last saw them, essentially.
Well, it's been at least a year and a half, because when Picard was talking with Laris, they mentioned how her husband has been gone for a year and a half. Okay. So probably a year and a half, maybe 2 years, somewhere in there is probably where it last. So really same as real time, because it's been about 2 years since the first season aired.
Yeah, I don't think that he's being inappropriate. Actually, he was super appropriate. He was actually reluctant, and it was bothering him. So it was difficult for him to get past that. I thought it was a good intro. I love the little "Cheers, big ears" line that he had in the beginning. Toast. Cute. That's going to be my new line when I toast with any Vulcan or anybody with big ears.
Yeah, at your Romulan parties.
Yeah. I loved also in the opening that this one was directed by Doug Aronofsky. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. I should have mentioned that at the top. Yeah,
and he did some things that I thought were really good visualistically. One of the things was the pullback from the scene on Earth all the way to the ship, and it was just this complete like pull back, and through space and until you get to the ship. And I thought, that's pretty cool. I like that. It was beautiful.
There were so many. I was just really, really impressed by this. And again, forgive me, everybody. I almost kind of forgot how great the first season of Picard was, because 2 years have gone by. There have been other series. We've seen Discovery since then, and Prodigy and Lower Decks. So now we're coming right back to it. And I was just like, wow. The color, the gold and black is kind of like this color scheme that they have kind of like in the background that I've got here. And, the imagery, the production design, the special effects, the visual effects are amazing. The music scoring, that Picard theme song is definitely top 3 for me. And this altered version, we'll have to see, but it still has that same heart, just in a more passionate or stressful, delivery. But there was just so many. First episodes are tough because first episodes of new seasons are tough because you have so much you want to set up. You want to set up a whole story for an entire season, but you don't want it to be boring. You don't want it to be just filled with exposition, So I thought they did a really good job of peppering in the exposition as we go. And when Picard is reuniting with Seven, and when Dr. Girardi is reuniting with Rios, and they have these moments of, of like being happy to see each other, I was happy that they were reuniting too, even though they were just together last episode, but it has been 2 years. So I thought they delivered that very well. And overall, I thought this was a very good script and a very good episode.
Yeah, and like you, I forgot how much I actually knew these characters and liked these characters already. So, like it's like Rios and Rafi, like it's been so much time that has elapsed that I forgot how much I already know them and like them. Dr. Agnes, I thought she gave a really great performance in that flirting scene where she was kind of playing like awkward, and she's like, "Yeah, my last thing didn't end too well. I kind of killed my ex-boyfriend." I love the delivery on that scene. I thought her awkwardness and just the feel and pace of it was like spot on.
I was very impressed with her acting in that scene as well. And I made a note of that. And again, I feel bad for being surprised. We shouldn't be surprised, but I was like, wow, we didn't see this side of her. So of course it's new. But anyway, I know I jumped over you there, but I just want to make sure, like, I totally agree.
I mean, like I could see her starring in a romantic comedy just off of that scene that I saw. Like, totally. She plays that kind of awkward nervousness thing. She can carry a whole film with that kind of style,
like a Drew Barrymore type,
Yes. Mm-hmm. And also the some of the lines that First of all, I wanted to say Elnor. That's his name, the cadet.
Mm-hmm.
I was when I was watching it, I was thinking, man, I wish that Nog got that kind of a scene for his entrance into Starfleet Academy. I don't know if you
wouldn't
thought
that be cool? And Captain Sisko is the one delivering the speech for the first fully Ferengi cadet in Starfleet Academy. Yes, yeah, that'd be amazing.
Yeah. When I saw that scene, I was like, man, Nog deserved that moment because he broke his own barriers in Starfleet Academy. So I would have loved to have actually seen that kind of a moment on Deep Space Nine. I'm glad that they did do it here.
I think even, not to trail off too much, but I think even the barrier that Nog broke was even more significant than the barrier that Elnor broke, because yes, the Romulans were the Federation's enemies. So that is a big momentous occasion when your enemy starts to integrate and become, one of your friends, right? But the Romulans, nobody ever questioned that the Romulans could be good Starfleet material. They're intelligent, they're sharp, they're great, athletic, they're militant. But Ferengi, nobody expects the Ferengi to be in Starfleet, whether they are your enemies, your friends, your investors.
Well, there's no profit in it. There's no there's no profit in it for them. So it's almost like against their cultural belief system. But I think, yes, it is a bigger barrier for Nog to have to overcome as far as, being accepted. But nonetheless, they did make a tribute to Elnor and his milestone, and I like that kind of address. The other thing is, to his credit, Patrick Stewart is fantastic at delivering these kinds of lines that I mentioned earlier. These like epic kind of lines. One of them was, the true final frontier is time. That's when he was delivering a speech at the kind of commencement at Starfleet.
Yeah.
And I loved when he said, "What we do in crisis weighs on us less heavily than what we could have done." Right? I think that's how the line is.
Yeah. And that's, really poignant because people do tend to regret things they didn't do rather than the things they did do. And that's always, I've heard that's always the number one thing that people say, on their deathbed when they've got one foot in and one foot out. Their regrets are always what they did not do. And so this kind of rang true for me in that regard, that seems to be kind of a common theme with, humanity.
Yeah. I thought it was well done. There were other moments too. I mean, this thing was just laced with a whole bunch of stuff, right? I mean, you had the Picard's mother and those kind of flashbacks, which were confusing to me slightly, and I'd like you to maybe help me out with it. But I felt like as a period, it was from a period that would have been too far back before Star Trek and the technology that allows the Federation to exist was even developed. So it seemed like it was, like 1930s or like at the Great Depression, and right.
Yeah, I guess it would. I guess that time would be, right after Star Trek, the original series, maybe like 10 to 20 years, right at or after Star Trek. Yeah, maybe 20 years after Star Trek, the original series, somewhere in there, which is 100 years after Enterprise, and 10 years or 20 or 30 years after Discovery and Strange New Worlds. So, yeah, I mean, they live in the simple village on their simple vineyard, and they definitely live that simple life. And there's like an elegance to it. You could see the crop dusters going by, which are super technology, but other than that, they're practically living like it's the 1700s. They're just kind of walking around, tying their vineyards up. There's a lot of charm there. Now, what I can't help you with, though, is information on his mother, because I don't remember her ever being mentioned. So this was all new to me as well. And it took me a second to confirm to myself that it was his mom, because, the first thing you assume is you're like, okay, older lady talking to a kid, it's Picard and his mom. But until we hear him say mom, we can't confirm that. And I think what did confirm it was when she said, oh, don't worry, your father, blah, 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 blah. So I'm like, okay, that's his mom. Now, what I can help you with is a few of the things that were really cool to us Star Trek nerds. Number one was, who was it that was talking with the Deltans? I already forgot. I think, Soji. So Soji was talking with the Deltans. All those people with shaved heads, those were Deltans. It's from one of the old original series movies. You see this lady with a shaved head and those robes. So we recognize that right away. And then they even mention it, saying, oh, she's entertaining Deltans. And all the nerds are like, oh my God, it's Deltans, right? The other thing that was really cool was the Stargazer, which was the ship that Rios is captaining. The Stargazer is also the name of the first ship that Picard captained. So his first captaincy before he went to the Enterprise was the Stargazer. So it's really sweet when they mentioned the Stargazer, that it's a new one with the same name. It makes everybody go, oh my God, that's so cute. So freaking cute. I put cute in my notes with like 15 U's, but those were the big parts. Yeah.
I thought that the robotic wine label makers were cute. I was like, wow, look how they beam on those wine labels.
Yeah, adorable.
I thought that was really adorable. But let's not also forget the the big cameos in this episode. as well, and we had Whoopi Goldberg reprising her old character, her Guinan character, right?
Yep. Yeah.
And I didn't get much of her. I obviously, that character is like left an impression because of not only the style of dress, but just it's because it's Whoopi Goldberg, and that image is kind of etched into Star Trek legacy.
Totally.
And so it was good to see her again back in that flashy hat, rocking her outfits, and adding a personal kind of I know you element to Picard, where nobody else kind of has that kind of, except for, let's say, Riker, who's able to say that to that degree, also Troy, but somebody who really can say I know you, and I thought that was great.
And we all knew Guinan was going to be in this. We knew Whoopi was going to be here, and Guinan, and she was going to be Picard's friend and all that. We knew what to expect. Yet, when I saw the two of them together, it still had this magical, nostalgic moment of like, two friends, kind of like that feeling I had when Riker and Picard were sitting on that dock in Nepenthe. Like, I just had this moment where I was like, look, it's two old buddies. He kind of puts his arm around him, and I freaking melted. The same kind of feeling here when, even though I was completely prepared for it, it still hit me when the two of them are sitting down together, and just hearing the contrast in their voices was reminiscent of hearing their voices in 1990, for example. And it was really nice. He doesn't go over there asking for her for military advice or professional advice. He goes there to talk with her about personal things, because that's the kind of relationship they have. They have that personal, deep friendship. It's really beautiful.
Yeah, you can see it. I like the intro line too, where he says Admiral, and she's like, Admiral? You'll always be. She's like, you'll always be captain to me. Like, I don't care how high you get your ranking is. You're captain. But in a nice, friendly way, not in a negative way. The other thing was, she's like, you're pushing a century, and I'm pushing several.
Yeah.
And I love that line as well. It's like, let's not. We're too old for this back and forth stuff. So
yeah,
I love that. I love the two of them together. You could tell that they have that closeness, that relationship. She's like, let me break out the good stuff. Forget this wine. We got to get to that next level.
Hooch. The hooch.
Exactly.
I do want to point out there was another really cute nod to the Next Generation, and that was where Guinan 10's bar. Now, on Deep Space Nine, they had Quark's bar. The bar in the Next Generation on the Enterprise was called 10 Forward. Don't really know what that means, but it was called 10 Forward. That's where they always went to have their drinks. And here on the planet, wherever Picard went, it said Forward Avenue Historic District is what the sign said, or the avenue, whatever, Forward Avenue. And the address of the building was 10. So so where she works is literally 10 Forward Avenue, which is a really cool little detail there, really cute.
Yeah, that's going to be the next place in my next bar when I open it up. 10 Forward. Come on down.
Yeah,
I like. Also, we got to see Captain Rios, and I always like Rios, and I like him. I continue to like him. I think he's doing really great as a captain too. We're just getting to see the beginnings of that, but he seems to defer in certain moments. You saw he deferred to Dr. Agnes at some point. He was like, "Trust me, you don't want to."
It's just easier to let it happen.
Yeah, and they're the camaraderie is there.
Yeah, one thing that did, annoy my nerdy self. I'm like, I do love Starfleet and everything that it does, everything it stands for. And every once in a while, we get very nitpicky. This would normally be a time that I pull out the tie, but it's kind of time for the nitpick number one. But I'm wearing the whole jacket. We're pretty good. I mean, I was just a little nitpicky about the fact on the Stargazer, Rios is having a meeting with Picard and Jurati and Seven. And I'm like, doesn't Rios have a first officer? Doesn't he have a senior staff? It would just be weird if like Captain Sisko has 3 friends visiting him, and then the Dominion attacks, and he goes, all right, me and my 3 friends are going to figure out what we're going to do. And like Kira and Worf are like, what? So
what do you want me to do?
We've been here for 5 years, and these guys have been here for 5 minutes, and you're going to go with them? It was a little weird. I wanted to meet Rios's first officer. At the very least, I wanted to see a little bit of his crew. I would have loved to see that in the meeting.
I think his crew got blown up in the first.
Yeah, they did.
They should have just explained it away with that. But yeah, really, ultimately, the Borg is what makes this so interesting. Once you start bringing back the Borg, we know that this storyline is gonna get incredibly juicy and scintillating for those of us that are interested in watching how the Borg operate. And clearly they are back and they look like they're more powerful than ever. So I think that's just going to open up so much storyline for 7 and 9 character, for Picard, who's already had dealings with them. It's going to bring up so many kind of conflict situations in the future. So that's why I think that this episode has done a good job at kind of setting the foundation for what's to come in this second season.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of juicy, did you see those tendrils that came out of the Borg Queen? Did you see that? Man, in 20 years, they sure have evolved and improved. Like suddenly she's like fully, cloaked in this, techno something. I don't know who they assimilated, but they assimilated somebody with some serious technology and made a big technological jump there, because she was indestructible. She was like she was like an X-Men or an Avenger, she was just crazy badass. And like, that's pretty worrisome for them if they're like, well, that's one Borg that was about to wipe out our entire fleet. Pretty cool though.
Yeah. Not only that, but was able to penetrate and beam down to the ship through the shields, which I don't think, they didn't think was possible. So that's kind of the ability that it has. And the other thing was how it was able to essentially not only just take over that ship, but all of the ships at once. So it was like, it's an incredibly powerful thing that we're dealing with. The other thing I thought they kind of said a little, I don't know, a little foreshadowing for what might be to come is when the Borg said, look up, right? Isn't that what it said at the end?
Like his mom did.
Like his mom did, kind of
making the stars or something like that, which was such a cute and brilliant title for the episode, Stargazer. Now, the ship is the Stargazer, one word, but they entitled it Star Space Gazer because he was the Stargazer in this episode, looking up at the stars. Really cool.
Right. Yeah. We're going to see about this Borg stuff, and it's going to get ugly, and I like it. I wanted to also give a little shout out to the set design for the when they were on that Raritan 4 moon or in meeting the deltas that you were talking about.
Yeah.
That pool and that whole little set looked awesome to me a little bit. So I liked it. I don't know where they filmed it, but it looked like a place I want to hang out and have some drinks with.
I was very impressed with the set design, the production design throughout.
Yeah.
Whether it be in that broken solarium or whatever Picard, visits where he remembers with his mom, or whether it be on a different planet, or whether it be those incredible starship interiors that just looked beautiful. You know, Picard even made a mention of that. He was just like, wow, this looks amazing. I forgot what he said, but it was funny. You know, he said something like, you know, the newer these are, the older they look, or something. I don't remember exactly what he said. I put it in my notes, but
yeah, it was a reference to how good it looked. Actually, you know, like they didn't make them this good back in my day. And clearly, the set design is just amazing on all of these things. I also, you know, wardrobe always gets an extra shout out for me because of the work that they put in. I love the comm badge that they designed for Picard. It was kind of new. It had this red line running through it.
It looked amazing. It was huge. It was a big, man, it was awesome. It looked so cool.
It looked like what an admiral should be wearing, right? So I like those kinds of details. That badge was cool. Also, we got to see the USS, this new Stargazer, and it had the X-wing engine on the back end of it. So it had like the four
nacelles,
which I didn't really pay attention to before. So I don't know if we'd seen that before, but I was kind of like, hey, look at the back of that thing.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, some of the ships have most of them seem to have two nacelles. Some have 4, and we've seen some with 1. We've seen some with 3 as well. But yeah, 4 kind of looks the coolest, doesn't it?
Yeah, that one it could be they need to make one of those and call it the USS Malcolm X.
Hey,
it has that X logo from the back. I like it.
Yeah.
The brother Malcolm. Sorry and Brandy made a nice little cameo in this too.
And it looked really tasty too when they were sipping it. Whatever it was, I don't know. But it looked good.
That hooch.
Yeah. Okay, so we only have a couple minutes left before we hop into a very special edition of the Free for All, everybody. But let's not forget to mention our buddy Rafi Musiker, who is now commanding her own ship, as far as I could tell. She's a commander, but she is in charge of her own ship, which was the USS Excelsior. Also looked really cool, but obviously we didn't see nearly as much of it as we saw of the Stargazer, which, by the way, I looked in my notes. Picard called it sleeker. This certainly is sleeker than my Stargazer, or whatever he says. Also, when Picard dies, and there's a big self-destruct thing, I thought it was wonderful that they were playing one of my favorites, Edith Piaf, her song about Je ne regrette rien. It's a really popular song from like, I don't even know, like 70 years ago or something like that. She's a very famous French singer, and made me happy, at least, to hear that. And then he got...
I thought her name was Edith Piaf. Edith. The way you just said it, but I know what you're talking about. I've heard her music before.
Yeah, Piaf is like a small bird. I think it's like a sparrow or something like that. And she was discovered because she grew up as a homeless girl with her homeless mom, and they would sit on the sidewalk, and she would, she was like 4 or 5 years old, and she would sing. So when they were panhandling, she would sing, and people would give her, a coin or something like that. And then she eventually got, and she was so small and tiny, like a little sparrow, that they gave her the last name Piaf. I don't know what her real last name was, but anyway, so that's kind of her story. And it's a story of like amazing tragedy, and some of her songs are just, they're so sad.
Yeah, I don't know what she says, but I've heard her music. I've listened to it. A friend of mine gave me a copy of her music a long time ago, about 15, 20 years ago. So I've listened to her many times, and I appreciate the music, even though I don't understand what she's saying. But it does sound, it has that 1930s kind of feel to it, old school.
Last thing I want to throw out too, real quick, is I just remembered that when Q shows up, and Picard cracked me up because he's like, "Oh no. No. I was just like, we know what he's feeling. He's just like, oh God. Like, he's not like, oh, Q, old pal. He's just like, oh God, are you serious? Still with this guy?
No, what did Q mean when he says the trial doesn't end or something? What was he talking about?
In the very first episode, Encounter at Farpoint of the Next Generation, Q shows up and puts Picard on trial, and he says, no, you're not on trial. All of humanity is on trial. What do you call them? A childlike savage race, I think is what he called the humans. And so every once in a while, when he would show up again throughout the Next Generation, he, especially in the last episode, he reminds him, hey, the trial never ends. Just because I let you survive and I let humanity continue on all those years ago doesn't mean the trial ended. It continues on. So now he's coming back saying, hey, long time no see, cuz. So let's revisit that trial. And Picard's just like, Jesus Christ. Still
like the damn trial's not over, is it? It's like, I got enough things going on right now.
Yeah. So before we head into...
I'm really looking forward to this next episode, by the way. And that to me is the mark of one of these great episodes, is when you see it and you're like, oh, I can't wait to see what happens next week. This is one of those.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. And next week is going to be freaking amazing. Book it. We also want to give a very special thanks before we hit the free-for-all to Carmen, a.k.a. Skillet, TJ Jackson-Bey out in Missouri, Bill Victor Arucan, Yvette Blackmon, Homer Freezy out somewhere in New Yeezy, Eve England out in Wales, Dr. Marie Segal, Titus Mohler, Tim Baum, the aforementioned, Darlena Marie, John Mann, Dr. Mohamed Noor, Joe Balsarati, Tierney C. Dieckmann, Michelle Melendez, Marcia Classic Schreier, Anna Post, Jenna Appleton, Frank Sobozhensky, and of course, Dr. Susan B. Gruner. We will see you all on the free-for-all, and we'll be right back on the 7th Rule. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to a very special edition of the 7th Rule. This is the free-for-all with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello.
We are also joined by Dr. Susan B. Gruner. We have Dr. Mohamed Noor. We have Dr. Marie Segal. I'm not a doctor. We also have Anna Post here and Darlena Marie Blander joining us. Boy, oh boy. Let's talk a little bit about Star Trek Picard and Star Trek in general. So everybody at home, full disclosure, everybody who has joined in after for the free-for-all has not seen the first episode of Picard yet. So if they say something incorrect, or a guess or a prediction or a hope that's not right, don't trash them too hard in the live chat. They haven't seen it yet, okay? But let's just start with you, Anne-Marie. How much did you love season 1 of Star Trek Picard?
Okay, first of all, well, obviously I loved it so much, but my favorite thing of all was when they set up the Delta Shield in Times Square on the day that it premiered, and I wore my Captain Nog Forever shirt, and me and my parents were on like the cover of StarTrek.com's article about January goings on in Star Trek. Yeah. And that's how we met our friends in Italy, talking Trek Italia. I think one of them actually lives here, or somehow they got like one of the publicity pictures, and then they contacted me asking if they could share it, and I was like, you can if you talk about 7th Rule in your article. And
there it is.
Well, that's the one of me, but the one on StarTrek.com actually is me and my parents.
She's wearing her Captain Nog Forever shirt. How cool is that?
Yeah.
In the middle of Manhattan.
In the logo. That's
It was so fun.
It was fun.
Yeah. The one of me and my parents is like pinned on Twitter.
Oh, you were there? You saw that, Darlena?
Yeah. We all took pictures there by the Delta. Yeah.
Wow.
Right before our screening party.
Yeah, Darlena threw a massive screening party like that night that was packed to the brim, standing room only.
Okay.
So fun.
So your parents were in this article too? Is that?
Oh yeah. Okay.
All of you?
Yeah. So my parents happened to be visiting me and my sister that day, and TNG is so special because that's how I got into Star Trek. Like growing up watching it at bedtime with my dad. So they were in town, and I was like, "Okay, let's start waiting." They like open up for pictures at 10, so let's get there at 9. So we were like first in line for the pictures, and that's when all the press was there, doing all of the like PR stuff. So it's me and my mom and dad. And that's the picture that went out on StarTrek.com and everything, which is so special because Star Trek's so multi-generational. I just love it.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so Darlena, I tried to do a quick scan of you on for the Picard Day thing. I couldn't find it, but I did see this instead. So this is almost as cool. It's you and Geordi.
Oh my God! Where did you find that, Ryan?
Yeah, hey, LeVar, what's up?
Oh my God! Yeah, what y'all about to do, Darlena?
That's hilarious.
Y'all about to go into the back room.
Yeah, boy.
Darlena,
help him with his eyesight.
How excited would you be if LeVar Burton showed up in Picard season 2 or season 3?
Oh, I'd be very excited. That would be really awesome. I kind of half expected, you know, from the episodes that I've seen, you know, and seeing the cast members show up little by little, and then Jerry Ryan, I was floored. It was like a great reunion.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I liked the storyline. I liked where it was going. It was different. It was unique. And it was just great seeing everyone. It was great having another incarnation. And like Anne-Marie said, we had this really great party. It was really great just being around Star Trek fans. And what I loved is that there was a lot of Star Trek fans who saw it like, you know, the night before the party and still came to the party because it's nothing like watching a Star Trek episode with Star Trek fans. You've seen it 100 times. You know, and everyone was just excited about the new incarnation and was waiting for it. So, you know, I was so glad that, you know, Patrick Stewart and everyone's healthy and still able to go on, you know. That really made me happy, you know. I really, really like that. So I still have to catch up on a couple of episodes. But yeah, I was very pleased with the season, how it's going. Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping if Geordi does show up, it's similar to that beautiful moment in All Good Things where he's like, Captain, we got something wrong with the flux, whatever, inverted power relay or some such thing. And he's like, Geordi, how are you? And now it'd be even more beautiful.
Yes. Mm-hmm. That would be awesome. Mm-hmm. And hear him say it just like that, too.
Or better, probably better. Well, on a post, boy, you are a huge, but you said you own season 1 of Star Trek Picard. Do you have an all-time favorite moment in that whole first season?
Oh, geez. I don't know if I have an all-time favorite moment. I think it's more all of the moments of like the fan service connections where like Seven shows up and Hugh shows up, and oh man, I did love when Hugh like sacrificed himself because again, I'm depressing, but like I didn't like that he died, but you know, when he made that sacrifice and like when Seven plugged in and kind of became the Borg queen, that was really fun. And then of course the reunion on Nepenthe and all of those. And I think maybe though my favorite moment might have been when, you know, Data just sort of disappeared and, you know, he went to like was by himself in the room and just sort of like, you know, a nice quiet goodbye to Data. Like I just thought that was beautiful.
Spoiler alert, everybody. But if you're watching a season 2, episode 1 review, you've seen season 1 probably, right? So I think it's fine. Dr. Susan B. Gruner, you said you actually really didn't care for Picard season 1. So
no, I like
no,
it.
she didn't say that.
I actually like it.
Did you have any favorite moments that you really liked in season 1?
I love that they're bringing people back. I think that's what everybody loves. My favorite moment actually was a horrible moment, but that they did it. I'm heartbroken that they killed off Hugh, but I thought it was brilliant the way they did it. I was crying. Yeah, I was. I went, Hugh, no! Hugh! I don't understand these people. But yeah, that was my favorite moment. It got a real reaction from me. Television, it's not all shows, but good shows can do that to you. They can literally make you cry. That to me is good TV.
For me, it's Family Feud. It just. What are you looking forward to or hoping to see in season 2?
Me? Oh, definitely Guinan. I want her back. I'll take any of them, though.
I think you may be pleased, right, Cirroc?
I hope so. I really hope so.
Well, Dr. Mohamed Noor, can you tell everybody what we can look forward to in season 2?
Oh, sure. Lay it all out. No, I'm just kidding. No, I don't know, actually.
No, did you have any favorite moments in season 1?
I loved the pilot. I actually thought it was, up until that point, potentially like one of the best pilots in all the Star Trek series. I mean, it was nice having, Jean-Luc back as a character. That's well enough. And I appreciate fan service in general, but I really like, there was intensity to it. There was plot, there was intrigue. The interview that he did with the news service, that was fascinating. What was going on with Dodge, and then Dodge going around and the Dodge getting blown up. And we're like, wait, isn't that a main character? How does she just get blown up?
Yeah.
So, I really, really enjoyed the pilot a lot. That was probably like my favorite episode, even of the series through season 1. I enjoyed the rest too. I mean, they were fine, but that one was like, whoa, that's a very high bar.
I have to say also, like, the really fun thing is the marketing, because back in the 90s and like the later 80s, I don't know about you, but it wasn't that cool to watch Star Trek. So I never really got to like embrace all of the like publicly all of the excitement. And it's like today I went on a walk for a few hours around Manhattan, and it's just so much fun seeing the billboards everywhere for Picard. And like, this must be what Star Wars fans feel like, because they have like marketing all
they're
the time
real
going
cool.
on. Yeah, but they get to like, they're always Star Wars billboards and things. And it's just, I mean, obviously they do a lot of marketing for Discovery especially, but Picard is just, there's something a little more mainstream about it, since it was so mainstream, TNG was so mainstream. And like on the subway, when you go through the stops, like every stop that comes up now, they're Picard billboards like lighting up. It's really, really fun. And like pretty soon, my guess is they were like putting things on the sidewalk that wears off like after a few months, but it'll be like how to watch Star Trek Picard. And last time they did like that really cool subway promotion where you got the subway cards, and then you could only get them. Cards. Yeah, and you could only get them at stations that made a Delta Shield when you looked at the Manhattan subway map. It was there are just like so many things that pop up like that, and I'm sure in the next week it's going to get like so much more intense. So I can't wait. And then also a shameless plug for Saturday night to Proudly Ghost Picard viewing parties at Barracuda from 6 to 9 with 2-for-1 drinks and free drinks from trivia.
What's to Proudly Go?
Proudly Go is a nonprofit for LGBTQI+. That focuses mainly on Manhattan charities, Star Trek adjacent charities as well, and all the proceeds go directly to whatever charity we choose to support during each TV series. And fun merch available at the parties.
That's what we did at the party. We had for the Picard season 1 screening, we had trivia, not trivia, we had raffle drawing for prizes, and the proceeds went to Doctors Without Borders because that was Renee's favorite charity.
Oh, Renee Auberge-Noir.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow,
So
that's awesome.
We're big on charities. Star Trek clubs in New York, very big on charities.
You really are.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, we have a couple minutes left. Does anybody have any predictions or hopes or wishes for season 2 of Star Trek Picard?
Well, I'm dying to know if when they go back in time or to 2024, I think on the poster with the highways, and like people have been speculating that there was a Sanctuary District poster in the background of one of those promo shots. Yeah. I'm dying to know if it's going to be some sort of direct tie-in to Deep Space Nine past tense.
Yes.
It's got to. It's got to, right?
That'd be my pick too.
Well, it's like a year later or something, 2024 versus 2023, I believe. And also they say in the episode, there are multiple Sanctuary Districts, but I would really like to know. And then I would really like a shout out to Chris Brenner of Information Systems Channel 90. Yeah.
Cirroc, do you remember that episode where they go back in time and they go to the Bell riots and Sisko acts as though he is Gabriel Bell because the person that got shot was Gabriel Bell. So so supposedly Picard's going to go back in time to a year after that. So
I believe it was 2023 and then now they're in 2024. And if you haven't seen that past tense episode, it's you had Ira Stephen Bear and Robert Hewitt Wolfond to talk about it with you, and it was amazing.
Yeah. Anybody else have any hopes for this season?
That was a good choice. I like that one.
That was my hope too.
I don't know if it's a hope, but it's something that has been driving me nuts since I saw the trailer, and it's just like a 2-second snapshot. But I don't know if anyone saw that one clip where there's a blonde woman with the curly hair and the red dress jumping over the building or jumping from a building or something, and it gives me Battlestar Galactica vibes.
Yeah, I'm like, that's
and I'm like, what? Why, of all of the things to choose, of all of the looks to go, you are duplicating that one iconic Battlestar Galactica look. And I'm like, I just want to know what that clip is because it's been killing me. And I'm sure it's just probably a random coincidence, but Star Trek being Star Trek, it could just be a nod or something. But it's, yeah.
And
that's interesting.
Dr. Trek, Larry Nemeczek, he does these tours around LA and takes you to different things that have been seen in Star Trek. And I think he actually used to take tour groups to Cirroc's restaurant. And so I'm sure that after this season, his tours are going to blow up with new locations to go visit. After 10 episodes or however many episodes.
Yeah, good point.
I can't wait.
I want to know: are they going to bring Worf back on Picard?
Well, so LeVar Burton did an interview where he was saying that at first he was a little more vague, and then he was like, "I'm not supposed to answer that question," instead of saying no to him and Worf.
We know what that means.
So,
yeah,
I hope so.
Yeah, I want to see Worf. That's
I'm
what
not
I'd
supposed
like
to answer
see.
that question.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of the 3rd season they have something with all of them together.
Oh, that would be sweet.
I just need Picard and Crusher back. I don't care what anybody says.
Okay, 30 seconds left, you guys, because I was thinking the same thing as what Anna just said. Do you think if they bring everybody together again for one final moment, is Wesley Crusher a part of that? Is he the 8th or 9th person in there?
Yes.
No.
He's gets no respect.
I know.
I mean, he does the ready room, right?
He came back for
Nothing against him. I just don't think they'll do it.
He came back for
either
Riker's
Wesley's there
wedding.
or Picard dies.
Oh, Picard's definitely going to die. Right?
How dare you? Pagala has 20 more years.
We want on the chats.
We want
Mark Alamo. I want Wesley Crusher.
Mark Alamo?
We want Mark Alamo. We want Picard.
Okay.
We'll see if he pops up.
But if Wesley Crusher shows up in an episode of Star Trek Picard,
what will he wear?
He needs to have his bed head. Because he used to always post pictures of like how he'd wake up and his hair is like all over the place.
Okay. Your impression of bed. I was like, does he have antlers? What are you going for?
Anyway.
I just want to see what he wears.
All right. Well, Cirroc, here's the one spoiler that we are allowed to say right now, you guys.
It's epic.
This was a fantastic episode, and we're super excited about this season. What do you think, Cirroc?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good season. A very good season. Thumbs up.
I was very pleased, and it kind of hit like an emotional note, and it was just beautiful and amazing and gorgeous.
And just really quickly, also to add to that, the characters that we've kind of gotten to know now, the Rafis, the Rioses, the Dr. Agnes, I care about those characters and I want to see their growth and development. And I think, we talk about the original series, original Next Generation series cast members reprising their roles, but I also like these new characters that they've gotten.
Yeah.
And I want to see them grow some more too as well.
Well, I'm like super attached to them. And also I meant to say in Picard season 1, I really loved how they kind of echoed TNG with all their classical music. So I'm really looking forward to the score for Picard season 2 and
Beautiful.
3.
Yeah. I will say the one terrible part of this episode was when it
ended.
Died right in front of us, Anyway. All right. Anyway, we have to run. But thank you very much, Sue, Mohamed, Darlena, Anne-Marie, Anna, for myself, for Cirroc Lofton, and for Aron Eisenberg, everybody's favorite. Thank you all for joining. And until next time, always remember the 7th rule.